This video is about the gap no one warns you about. The gap between how a place looks and how hard it actually is to live there. On one side, you see blue skies, mountains, beaches, quiet streets, and smiling tourism ads. On the other side, there's panic you don't see on postcards. Rent that jumps overnight. Homes locals can't touch anymore. Teachers, nurses, and firefighters quietly packing up because they can't afford the town they serve. This video exists to expose that gap, honestly and clearly, so you don't make a move that costs you years of your life. Picture this for a second. You visit a beautiful state on vacation. Everything feels calm, safe, almost perfect. You think, I could live here. But once you try, the mask slips. Housing is scarce, prices are brutal, wages don't match reality. And suddenly, staying feels harder than leaving. That's the betrayal we're talking about. Not beauty itself, but what hides behind it. This isn't just about real estate. Housing has become a silent lifestyle tax. A tax on where you can work, how close you live to family, whether you can retire with peace, or whether your kids ever move out. Tourism pushes prices up, second homes sit empty while locals search, remote work concentrates wealth, zoning limits slow building, investors buy in bulk. None of this feels dramatic until it hits your rent, your commute, or your stress level. And this isn't a short-term problem. In many states, it's structural. That means the pressure doesn't ease just because the headlines move on. So today, we're counting down 10 beautiful states hiding the worst housing pressure in the country. Each one looks like a dream from the outside. Each one carries a cost most people discover too late. As we move closer to number one, the reality gets heavier, the trade-off sharper, and the consequences more permanent. Some places might still work for you. Others might quietly ruin your plans if you're not prepared. Stay with me, because this list could save you from a decision you can't undo. Number 10, Maine. Maine looks like it has endless space, forests that never seem to end, small towns by the ocean, quiet streets, fresh air. From the outside, it feels like the kind of place where housing should be easy. But that's the trap. Here's the shock. Maine has one of the tightest rental markets in the country. The typical home price now sits close to $400,000, and available rentals are incredibly rare, with vacancy hovering around 2%. That means if a place opens up, it's gone fast, sometimes within hours. A big reason is how much housing is tied up seasonally. Coastal homes that look occupied in summer often sit empty most of the year. Short-term rentals have quietly replaced long-term housing in many towns, so even though the land looks wide open, livable housing is not. Talk to people who work here, and the story gets heavier. Nurses driving more than an hour each way. Restaurant workers sharing crowded apartments. Young families giving up and moving out of state because nothing stays affordable long enough to plan a future. Maine hits renters the hardest. Young people, essential workers, anyone without cash already saved. If you're thinking about Maine, the real question isn't how beautiful it is. It's whether you're ready for isolation in exchange for stability, or if affordability matters more than scenery. Would you make that trade? Let me know in the comments. Number 9. Colorado sells a dream better than almost anywhere. Snow-capped mountains, blue skies, clean cities, an outdoor lifestyle that feels healthy and free. But once you try to live here, reality hits hard. The views are world-class. The housing prices are completely disconnected from local paychecks. In many parts of the state, the typical home now costs well over $550,000. In cities like Denver and Boulder, rent has jumped more than 40% in just a few years. Wages did not move the same way. That gap is where the pressure lives. It gets even worse in resort towns. Places built around skiing and tourism depend on workers to function, but those same workers can't afford to stay. Some live far away and commute through snow and traffic. Others sleep in vans or old campers parked near job sites, waking up early just to avoid being noticed. There's a strange irony here. You can afford the gear, the skis, the boots, the mountain pass, but not the roof over your head near where you work. Colorado rewards people who already arrived early or already have money. Everyone else feels like they're chasing a lifestyle that keeps moving out of reach. If you're thinking about moving to Colorado, the real question isn't whether you'll love the scenery. It's whether your income can survive the housing reality long after the excitement wears off. Number 8. Idaho. Idaho used to be the quiet alternative, the place people mentioned when everything else felt too crowded, too expensive, too fast, especially Boise. Not flashy, not loud, just stable, affordable, and livable. That image didn't fade slowly, it shattered. Here's the shock. Idaho experienced one of the fastest housing price explosions in modern American history. From 2019 to 2022, home prices jumped by more than 70%. That kind of increase didn't give locals time to adjust. It just erased options overnight. Boise transformed almost too fast to recognize. Neighborhoods that once held modest homes suddenly became bidding wars. New arrivals came with higher salaries, remote jobs, and cash from selling homes in more expensive states. Local wages didn't follow. They lagged far behind, leaving lifelong residents stuck watching prices climb past what they could ever catch. Talk to people who grew up here, and you hear the same story. Parents telling their kids they'll probably have to leave. Renters afraid to move because they won't find anything else. Home ownership, slipping from a goal into a memory. Idaho didn't change because people failed. It changed because demand arrived faster than housing, faster than wages, and faster than policy could respond. If you're considering Idaho today, timing matters more than intention. Ask yourself not just if you can afford it now, but whether you can stay if prices keep pulling away. Number 7. Montana feels like freedom. Wide skies, open land, places where silence still exists. Yellowstone, Big Sky, Bozeman, names that sound untouched. But beneath that calm, something else is happening. Luxury growth is moving faster than local survival. In key towns, home prices have more than doubled in just a few years. Houses that once fit a teacher's salary are now priced for second home buyers. Many of those homes don't hold families year-round. They sit dark most of the time, waiting for vacation season, while people who keep the town running scramble to find anywhere to live. Rental options are painfully limited. Vacancy sits under 3% in many areas, which means choice disappears fast. When a place opens up, people compete, compromise, or give up. That pressure doesn't stay abstract, it shows up in daily life. There are real stories behind this. Teachers living in RVs through Montana winters, construction workers driving long distances before sunrise, families splitting up temporarily just to stay employed. This isn't about laziness or poor planning. It's about a market that shifted faster than wages and faster than supply. Montana rewards people who arrive with money already in hand. For everyone else, the math no longer works. If you're drawn to Montana's beauty, pause and think about year-round reality. Ask yourself if you're prepared for limited housing, long waits, and tough trade-offs. Loving a place is one thing. Being able to live there comfortably is another. Number 6. Arizona. Arizona looks like it has endless room to grow. Wide desert land, new neighborhoods popping up everywhere. From the outside, it feels like housing should stay cheap just because there's so much space. But that assumption has been costing people a lot of money. Here's the shock. Rent in Arizona surged by more than 30% in a very short period. In fast-growing cities like Phoenix and Tucson, many people watched their rent jump without warning, sometimes by hundreds of dollars at renewal. Wages did not rise at the same speed, and for many renters, that gap became a breaking point. One major reason is who owns the homes. Large institutional investors now control a significant share of single-family rentals. These are not small landlords. These are companies setting prices based on demand, not on what local families can realistically afford. When they raise rents, entire neighborhoods feel it at once. Then there's the twist most people don't think about: water. Arizona's long-term water supply is under pressure, and that quietly limits how much new housing can be built in the future. Less building means tighter supply. Tighter supply means higher prices. That affects everyone, whether you rent or own. Arizona still attracts people chasing sunshine and opportunity, But before you move, ask yourself if your budget can handle fast rent changes and long-term uncertainty. Space doesn't always mean affordability, and the desert doesn't guarantee stability. Number 5. Vermont looks like it was designed to slow life down. Small villages, old houses, mountains in the distance, quiet roads where nothing feels rushed. From the outside, it seems like the perfect place to settle into a calm, affordable life. But once you try to live there, the calm turns into frustration. Here's the shock. In many Vermont towns, there is almost no housing available at all. Vacancy rates are extremely low, which means people aren't choosing between options. They're waiting, hoping, or giving up. A big part of the problem is the housing itself. Much of it is old, expensive to maintain, and not built for modern demand. Second homes add even more pressure. Houses sit empty for much of the year, while locals search for somewhere to live. Young professionals with stable jobs find themselves stuck. They earn enough to work there, but not enough to stay there. Some commute long distances. Others leave the state entirely, not because they want to, but because they run out of choices. There's also a quiet tension in Vermont that most visitors never notice. Strong preservation rules protect the look and feel of towns, but they also slow down new housing. That keeps the charm intact while making housing scarcer every year. If you're thinking about Vermont, the real question isn't whether you'll love the lifestyle. It's whether you can secure housing before falling in love with the place. In Vermont, stability doesn't come from income alone. It comes from timing, availability, and patience. Number 4. Utah. Utah is often seen as one of the most family-friendly places in the country. Safe neighborhoods, strong communities, clean cities. For a long time, it felt like a place where raising a family actually made financial sense. That reputation is now colliding with a very different reality. Here's the shock. Home prices in Utah have grown far faster than incomes. Along the Wasatch Front, especially around Salt Lake City, housing costs climbed so quickly that many families never had time to catch up. The math stopped working, especially for households with more than one child. Utah's population has been growing fast, but housing supply hasn't kept pace. New homes take time to build. Land is limited in key areas. Demand keeps stacking up. The result is pressure that lands hardest on families who need space the most. Bigger homes cost more. Rentals large enough for families are rare and expensive. You see the impact in quiet ways. Adult children staying longer than planned. Parents moving in together. Not out of tradition, but necessity. Multi-generational homes forming because it's the only way to share costs. What once felt like choice now feels like survival. Utah still offers strong communities, but affordability is no longer guaranteed by hard work alone. If you're considering a move here, look past the listings and the averages. Think about long-term space, future price growth, and whether your income can stretch as your family grows. If you're still watching, this is where the list starts to get heavier. These next states don't just strain budgets, they change life plans. Maps and listings won't show you these costs, but the stories will. Stay with me, because the final entries carry consequences that last far beyond the first year. Number 3. Oregon attracts people who want more than a paycheck. Green cities, strong values, a sense that life can be thoughtful, creative, and balanced. For many, it feels like a place that puts people first. But when it comes to housing, good intentions have collided with hard limits. Here's the reality. Oregon has some of the strictest land use rules in the country. Urban growth boundaries were designed to protect nature and control sprawl. They worked, but they also limited how much housing could be built where people actually want to live. Demand kept rising, supply did not. The result is constant pressure. Rental shortages that never really ease, home prices sitting around $500,000 in many areas. Even when demand cools, the shortage remains because new housing moves slowly through the system. This creates a deep emotional tension. Oregon values inclusion, fairness, and community. Yet many working-class residents, artists, and young families feel squeezed out. People who give the state its character struggle to stay. Renters hold on to apartments out of fear. Buyers delay families or move farther away, trading time for affordability. Oregon's housing problem isn't loud, it's steady, quiet, persistent. If you're considering a move here, don't just ask if the culture fits you. Ask if the housing rules give you room to grow long-term. Values matter, but so does whether you can build a life without constant pressure. Number 2. Florida. Florida has always sold one simple promise: no state income tax, warm weather, a place where your money should go further. For years, that promise pulled in retirees, families, and remote workers. But now, many people are realizing the savings come with a price. Here's the shock. In major Florida cities, rent jumped between 25 and 35% in just a few years. At the same time, home insurance premiums exploded. In some areas, people are paying double or even triple what they paid not long ago. HOA fees followed right behind, climbing as buildings face higher insurance, repairs, and storm costs. These costs don't show up in relocation guides. They show up later when the bills arrive. You hear it in real stories. Retirees who plan to relax now taking part-time jobs. Homeowners downsizing sooner than expected. Fixed incomes stretched thin by expenses that never stop rising. Florida's growth adds pressure from every side. More people means more demand. Climate risk raises insurance costs. Building standards tighten. Investors move in. The result is a state where affordability can disappear quietly, year by year. Florida can still work for some people. But if you're thinking about moving here, don't stop at taxes and sunshine. Run the numbers long term. Ask how stable your housing cost will be 5 years from now, not just the first year. Because in Florida, what looks cheap at first can become expensive faster than you expect. Number 1. Hawaii. Hawaii is the dream everyone recognizes instantly. Blue water, warm air, mountains rising out of the ocean. It feels like the kind of place people move to find peace, balance, and a better life. But behind that beauty is the hardest housing reality on this list. Here's the truth. In many parts of Hawaii, the typical home price is moving closer to $900,000. Rent is among the highest in the entire country. And unlike other states, Hawaii can't just expand outward. Land is limited. Zoning is strict. Building new housing is slow, expensive, and tightly controlled. That pressure never really releases. The cost doesn't just affect newcomers, it hits locals first. Native Hawaiians and long-time residents are leaving at record levels, not because they want to, but because they can't afford to stay. Families that have lived there for generations are forced to choose between culture and survival. Some move to the mainland, others crowd into shared homes, trying to hold on as long as they can. This is the clearest example of beauty pricing out belonging. Hawaii didn't fail, the market didn't crash. It simply became unreachable for the people who made it what it is. If you're thinking about Hawaii, the question isn't whether it's beautiful, everyone knows that. The real question is whether you can build a future there without constant financial stress. Paradise is powerful, but it comes at a cost most people don't fully understand until it's too late. If there's one truth that connects every state on this list, it's this. Beauty attracts money. Money reshapes housing. And housing decides who gets to stay. None of these places started out trying to push people away. They became victims of their own appeal. The views, the weather, the lifestyle, the reputation, all of it pulled demand faster than homes could be built, wages could rise, or policies could adjust. This is why relocation today has to be about more than scenery. A beautiful place can feel exciting for the first year, maybe even the first few years. But sustainability is what decides whether that move becomes a life upgrade or a long-term struggle. Stable housing, predictable costs, room to grow without constant pressure. Those things matter more than any postcard image. Before you move, ask harder questions. Not just, can I afford it now? But can I afford it if prices rise again? Not just, do I love this place? But can I build a future here without stress taking over? What you're really paying for isn't just rent or a mortgage. It's time, security, peace of mind. If this made you think differently about where you live or where you're planning to move, hit the like button so more people see this reality. Share it with someone talking about relocating or retiring, and drop a comment about which state surprised you most. Subscribe to Mr. State Realities for more stories you won't find in travel ads or relocation guides. Coming up next, we're breaking down states paying people to move, cities quietly restricting rentals, and places that are still affordable if you know where to look. This channel exists to show you what the postcards never will.